What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here. Back again talking college football, and we are back with the recap shows. This is the recap for week 7. And to do it with me, I have my good friend, Nate Bailey. If you don't know Nate Bailey, he's actually someone I met in real life, believe it or not. I've met people in real life. He's done some work with me over at Stochastic, both on the NFL and the college football side. So holding me accountable, making sure we do these every single week, and giving us good analysis for all the games we just saw and what to expect moving forward. Here he is. Nate, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. How about you?
I'm doing good. How was your week 7?
I had a great week 7. I was 10-2-1. I actually thought it was a pretty hard week to bet, but I'm actually really happy with the result. So I'm looking forward to talking about some games from this week and some look aheads as well.
At least someone had a good week 7. I'm trying to find my record. I accidentally closed the tab. I was sweating a New Mexico cover of Boise State last night to not go into the negative for the day. But sometimes pushing money around is a win in and of itself. It's not a loss at the very least. I end up 9-9-1, 9-9-1. So I guess not too bad.
No, it's not bad. There were some tough spots, especially in the late night slate. There were some tough spots.
So not to get us off the rails right away, I promise we're going to get to the games immediately, but I've had to relearn a couple lessons as we've gotten into the midpoint of the season. First of all, especially in these little conferences, I thought it might be different this year with the injury reporting, like Conference USA and MAC and all these places mandating injury reports. I did not expect teams to just completely disregard them. So the old edge of paying attention to who's actually warming up on the sidelines, well, it got me into trouble betting games early, according to those injury reports. So that's just a lesson for the future. Pay attention before lock. And then not every line's going to move in your favor because of these injuries. There were 4 this week that were kind of unexpected injury situations. Mateer playing, Levitt being out randomly. I knew he was banged up, but wasn't expecting that. So that got me into trouble trying to do a little bit of a better job moving forward, monitoring the injury stuff. But anything else before we dive into these games?
I know we're going to get to the Mateer thing, but I think a lot of these guys actually playing ended up probably hurting some of these teams.
I think Mateer, you can definitely argue that, but a couple housekeeping notes. We will do sort of a recap conference by conference, and that at the end of we're going to talk about all the big games, but then at the end of each one, we'll kind of give you a little brief playoff picture if it's applicable. And for the G5 conferences, just who might be in position to win the conference and potentially take that G5 bid. Then we'll probably mess around at the end. And last thing, if you or somebody has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. We're going to be discussing size and totals. It's the whole point of the show. I also made this graphic. Rusty, the graphics guy, made it. I filled it out. But it's basically scores, post-game win expectancy, yards per play, yards per pass, yards per rushing, turnovers. For Bama, it's all descending, so the column down's their stats, and then it's just done by conference. So there's going to be one of these for each of the conferences. So that way, just give the audience, all you guys watching, some context as to what we're talking about and what actually happened in these games, if there was anything funny, how teams succeeded, and then hopefully we can color this with some of our analysis. But that brings us probably the best game of the day, I thought at least, Bama and Missouri. It ended up closing at 3.5 in some spots. I took Missouri at a 3.5 and this is immediately the wrong score, is it not? Did I already mess this up?
No, it was that was the wrong score right there.
I can fix it.
Mizzou lost by 3.
That's what I thought. I now see me doing these graphics at the last second. But anyway, I'll throw it to you for some takeaways in the game. I'm going to fix the graphic on the back end right away, and you can get into this. I know it's just the score that's wrong. So go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
What did you see in this game?
I actually bet this game myself at 3. So this was my push for the day. A couple spots that I think we need to really look at here. First, out of the gate in the second half, the early turnover for Bama led to an immediate Missouri touchdown. They were in this game the entire time. Another spot, Simpson's knee being down by the goal line, which ended up leading to a Bama field goal. 2 spots really there, which kept Missouri in this game for that majority. Again, I think this team's still really good. I think they still can be a fringe playoff team. Bo's got to take care of the football, especially there late. Those couple interceptions there were killer. Again, I do think Bama's definitely playing better than what we probably thought we were going to see, especially after that Week 1 Florida State game. But I definitely think these are two playoff teams. They're definitely going to be in the mix, especially in the SEC the rest of the way. I actually like Missouri almost more going forward, just because their schedule favors the playoff much more than Bama. At least what I can see moving forward here.
Yeah, coming into the year, we knew it was going to be an easier path. They just dodged some of the heavies, Bama kind of being that marquee game on their schedule. But agree with most of what you said. A lot of weird stuff in the game. Missouri, I mean, I understand the aggression on their part. You know, they had that, was it a fake punt or a fake kick in their own territory that ends up being, you know, a turnover on down that's kind of unnecessary in a game that's very competitive. It's not like they were chasing 21 points or something. And in your own territory, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. They also got themselves in trouble a lot on top of the interceptions, even on the first drive, that Alabama touchdown. That was the direct result of a Zion Young taunting penalty. They have Bama off the field. Bama's going to punt, stop him in the backfield on this. It was in the flat almost. And then Zion Young gets the taunting and it continues the Alabama drive. So with the post-game win expectancy here, Missouri actually came out on top at 72%, which might be surprising to some people. But when you look at the stats, yards per play was heavily in their favor, 5.9 to 4.3. Ty Simpson's had an awesome season, and you still saw glimpses of some of those passes, especially down in the low red zone. He threaded a nice needle. I forget who caught it. Maybe it was Jeremy Bernard. Beat a safety on that. But they still couldn't run the ball. That's been a problem for them all season. Jam Miller, he leaves the game late with a concussion. He's been unable to get anything going. Ryan Williams was limited in this game. I don't know if it's the injury with him. He's been banged up, I know, but they listed him probable. His snaps have been declining week over week, so it's hard for me to parse injury versus inefficiency because he's also dropping passes left and right. So even though Bama certainly looks better than the Florida State game, I'm just not quite sure they have everything put together at this point with their personnel, and especially that run game. For whatever reason, that O-line really struggles to run block at this point in the season. Anything else for you on the Bama side?
Nothing really. Anything else for me? I really do like what they are doing with Caden Proctor. I know it's very gimmicky right now, but at the same time, it's hard to stop. You know what I mean? So I really think we're going to see more of that going forward here. But again, just kind of another creative way to use what they have on that team right now.
Yeah, I mean, they should do that. And Bama's definitely going to be tested again. They've been tested multiple times. But let's go to our second game. It was Red River, Oklahoma, and Texas. You alluded to this at the top. Mateer gets the green light. He's got the bandage on his thumb. I don't really know what that was doing. Maybe holding some stitches together. His thumb was bleeding in the game. But Texas rebounds after a Florida loss. They win 23-6 with a 94% post-game win expectancy and dominated the yardage across the board. 4.9 yards per play for Texas, which isn't even that good, but they held Oklahoma to 3.7. Mateer was at 5.4 yards per attempt. The runners were at 1.6 yards per carry. It was a stifling Texas defense. And I think you really felt the return of Malik Muhammad. Last week against Florida, they had Black in there as the replacement, and he's the one that got beat by Dallas Wilson for 2 touchdowns over the top. So returning him, he had 2 interceptions in the game before he went down with an injury again. So we'll see on his status moving forward. But I thought it was really impressive for Texas to rebound against an Oklahoma team that a lot of people were showing love to in coming into the week. So what did you think about this game?
So I bet Texas on the money line here.
I forgot. I bet him too.
So with the Mateer injury, you could see the guy in pregame. He was wincing in almost every single throw. So from the jump, it was a concern with his hand. I was actually proud. I actually was thinking the same thing with Texas, regardless if it was going to be Mateer or Hawkins playing. I actually don't really mind Hawkins, so I would have been okay with them having him go yesterday. But the hand was definitely a problem. You got a guy that's going to use your legs the way Mateer does, and he's going to take some shots. And you could see that throughout that entire game. I also think with this game, I know the stat sheet didn't really pop, but I do think Arch Manning looked better. He didn't make any bad decisions for the most part. He was making smarter throws. Again, the yards, touchdowns, everything didn't really pop off the stat sheet, but he did what he needed to do to win that game. So I do think that's going to be a more of a continuation for him to be able to grow, be able to mature over the season. But at the same time, he did look a lot better throughout Red River yesterday.
Yeah, it was just nice to see him hit some easy throws. It's not like the problems with him, especially against like Ohio State and some of the early games, he wasn't taking these really rigorous throws. Some of them were just, he was missing throws that should be easy for a guy like him. But it was nice to see him sort of put something on tape. Things get a lot easier for Texas through the next month or so. They play Georgia in mid-November, but until then it's Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vandy. They have that game at home. Vandy's a good team, but you like to see that one in Austin. There's not really too much else I have on the Texas side. I think they're missing Baxter still, their runner. With Wisner back there, he's just a little undersized, and that O-line has been an issue after they had to replace 4 starters coming into the year. Oklahoma lost an offensive lineman, Simmons, in the game, which I don't even know if that matters that much. He's a Western Carolina transfer, if I'm not mistaken. And their receiving core, just like, this was another reason I ended up taking Texas down to the wire and betting at the last second. You just like, on paper, DeAndre Moore, Wingo, and Livingston playing was huge in this game. He's been their best receiver this year. You take that against Burks and Keontae Lewis, who was surprisingly playing, and Satina. It's just like, it's better across the board Texas. Then you have the tight end position. Oklahoma has a converted linebacker playing tight end in Canuck, and he's been good, but it's just every single position is a little better for Texas. And Oklahoma's offensive line is still a concern, which is how I got there. But moving forward for Oklahoma, is there anything you think is actionable, or does this kind of just depend on how Mateer's thumb progresses?
I definitely think it's going to be how the thumb progresses. I actually hope they do win some more going forward, because I actually do have Oklahoma's win total on the year. I think we can get there. Again, their schedule is a bloodbath going forward. It's very hard. But, I think they're a good team. I don't think that final score really tells us the full story. I think Texas's defense really came to play yesterday. But again, I think if we look at Mateer's hand going forward, I do definitely think we can see them put together still a pretty good season.
Yeah, my only real worry is they're just relying so much on him hero ball. It's like a better version of what Sellers is dealing with at South Carolina, who they're playing this week, by the way. They gotta go there, which is definitely not, it's their easiest game left, but
yeah,
going to play South Carolina.
That should tell you everything about that schedule, too.
I mean, following that game, they play 5 consecutive top 16 teams, according to the current rankings, or at least last week's. There's going to be some fluctuation in that, of course, but all I'm trying to illustrate is the difficulty of opponent. Anything else here?
No, nothing else for me on there.
All right, let's go to Florida and Texas A&M. Really good showing from A&M. They win 34-17. You finally see them. The common theme with A&M this year is they win, and they win a lot by double digits, but they don't always live up to expectation. When you go behind the scenes and we run like the post-game win expectancies you see on the screen, it also gives you an average margin of victory predicting what the score should have been. A&M hasn't reached it one time this year until this game. Florida did come into the game very injured. They were down a couple offensive linemen. The defensive line is a little healthier than it's been, but still missing bodies. They didn't have Gates or Johnson in the secondary. So certainly a walking wounded Gators team, yet again. But man, A&M really putting their stamp on this, and they dominated everything. The biggest thing for me, Marcel Reed went up to 9 yards per attempt. And after the transfers they bring in, Concepcion, Craver, it's really just, can he deliver the ball to these guys? And I think that was a big question that I don't know if it's fully answered for me, but at least it's a good data point in that direction. What'd you see in this game?
This was definitely one of those games where it looked like A&M was just a flat out better team. Nothing really stuck out one side to another here. Lagway looked fine. He didn't look the way he did the first couple weeks of the season. Again, he looked okay. I think A&M definitely looked pretty good, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I've honestly not been a huge Marcel Reed fan from before this game actually started. But again, kind of like what you were saying, he did look a little better. Yards per attempt were up there. Again, I think A&M, this is just a simple case of them being the better team in that game.
I know you and I were on this in the beginning of the year, that A&M had a very talented roster. going back even to the Jimbo years, I mean, this team is spending money to get recruits,
Mm-hmm.
transfers. We mentioned the receivers. Their whole offensive line was basically back. That defense, they lose the defenders on the defensive line, the edge defenders, but now you're getting Cassius Howell, former Bowling Green transfer, balling out, and they spend money on guys like Deion Hayes and Albert Regis inside. Plus, your linebacker room is very nice. They got Bryce Anderson back in this game after he was stretchered off like 2 weeks ago. It's a defense coming together. And this was a talented receiving core they were going to face. As for Florida moving forward, I think they just need to get healthier, man. Even Lagway's not fully up to speed yet, but you can't be down this many bodies. It's not going to get easier, and Napier needs to stack some wins. I mean, this really, to me, is just get in the training room. Anything on Florida?
I mean, the guy, Lagway has looked hurt the entire season. He's looked hurt the entire year. You're not going to win a lot more games with him playing injured like that. You're just not. But I mean, the Florida offense, when you look at it in a game, it's not that bad, especially from their receivers. They got guys on the edge that get out there and go get the ball. You know what I mean? So if he gets healthy, this team can definitely play some spoiler in the SEC. I don't really know what that record's going to look like at the end, but I definitely think there's a couple games they could definitely still steal.
Yeah, sorry about the sirens. I live by the fire department. They're fighting for a bowl. I mean, they played spoiler to Texas already. That's kind of going to be what they do all year. And when they're at full strength, that offensive line is very good. If they can protect Lagway, you should see the turnovers come down. Most of them occurred in the Miami game. And then once they get back Jacoby Jackson, maybe you have a compliment to Bob, but right now Duke Clark was out of this game too. Like, they were just down a lot of guys. And that's going to be tough to win against A&M, who I forget who A&M has this week. They have Arkansas?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that one at the end, and I'll bring up that sheet. But things aren't going to get easier for them, maybe just this week. But A&M, I took some futures on them to win the national championship. That's how much I like that roster at a long price. But
I think right now, I think you can make the case that they're the third best team in the SEC. Disregarding the AP poll, I think you could make the case that they're the third. And that's a whole other thing. But I think behind – I think definitely Georgia, Alabama are up there. I think A&M is definitely close. I mean, the SEC, there's 8 to 10 teams right now you can put in the playoff. And guess what? You're not all going to make it. So the second half of this season is going to be really interesting.
I think A&M might be the best team. I'm not going to lie to you.
I like them a lot right now.
I'm going to pull up my power
Marcel Reed has definitely changed my mind on a lot of things with that team. And I'm really excited to see what they can do going forward.
I just like that he doesn't have to be a superhero. Yeah, I had them power ranked as the second best team behind Bama in the preseason. And man, Bama, what a mess. All right, let's go to South Carolina, LSU. This game was just grease across the board. It finishes 10-20. I don't know if that was good offense, or I guess I should say bad offense or good defense. But I was a little surprised LSU came out with a 99% post-game win expectancy for a score it's within 2 scores. It's not even close post-game. But then you look at the yardage difference, 4.4 yards per play for South Carolina, 6.9 for LSU. LSU got some production on the ground for the first time this season, 6 yards per carry. I know that South Carolina defensive line's not the healthiest, and they lost a ton of guys from last year. But Sellers came in at 4.6 yards per attempt. That Mansour Delane and A.J. Halsey-led secondary was giving him a lot of trouble in this game. LSU even had one more turnover, 3-2, and they're still able to overcome this and win. Anything from this game?
You know, you said it best. This game was beyond greasy. Beyond greasy. You know, nothing with this game really stuck out. I didn't bet the game. I was going to fire on LSU. This ended up being more of I like to call it information gathering game. Yeah, I wasn't really too impressed by what LSU put on the field last night. In South Carolina, they're going to kind of be what they are. You know, I think they were definitely overrated at the beginning of the year. That was definitely one of those teams you were going to see regress a little bit from last season. Sellers, he's been fine. He wasn't great last night. I would like to still see LSU let Nussmeier do a little bit more. It's been checked down and screen central from that LSU team this year. And you have a phenomenal receiving core. So It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do with teams like Alabama coming up on their schedule, even Oklahoma. But LSU, I mean, they're still live for the playoff. I still think they're a good team. But messy game when you're looking at all these turnovers.
I don't really think either team is live to make a lot of noise. Yes, technically these teams, mainly LSU, could still make the playoff. I think they're going to get tripped up. And with both quarterbacks, honestly, it comes down to a weak supporting cast. This South Carolina offensive line is a disaster yet again. I know they have the very highly recruited left tackle Thompson. He's been a disaster for this team. They forced him in there right away as a freshman. Now he's a sophomore. His pressure rate is through the roof. They're allowing a defensive pressure on 43% of Lenora Sellers' dropbacks. It's just an untenable situation. And his receivers have dropped 10% of his catchable targets. They've already changed out some of those players and moved to two freshmen, Brian Rowe and Donovan Murphy, playing a lot more. But man, like now they're counting on freshmen at some of these key positions. The offense is just an utter disaster. And this is not a team that backfills defensive talent like Bama, Georgia, Ohio State. So losing like Eminwari and these defenders to the NFL, it's just a mess for this team. I bet their win total under at the beginning of the season. But with that said, I mean, like I'm not super optimistic that LSU is any better. Their offensive line is also atrocious, mainly in run blocking. They have a lot of talented receivers, but for some reason they continue to use that like gnarly rotation. They're up to a 9.5% drop rate. And a lot of that's on like Chris Hilton, who shouldn't be on the field. So it's just a weird situation for both teams. I think they're both going to catch L's, and hopefully for my bag, South Carolina continues to. So that way I cash that win total under. Anything else for South Carolina moving forward, or LSU, I suppose?
No, nothing much else right now.
You think LSU loses more games?
I mean, I think I definitely think, I actually think they could beat Bama. I think they actually might.
Where's that game again? Where's that game?
It's in 3 weeks, I think. I know it's in 3 weeks.
I don't know where it is either.
Yeah. I think it's the second week of November.
I guess the only other things that stood out for me quickly, like Trey'Dez Green was back. He had a great game at tight end. He's very hard to cover if they continue to involve him. He's just a matchup nightmare. And I don't know, South Carolina found a run game, but they started using Matt Fuller. He had a nice long run in this contest. Maybe that helps a little bit. I'm just not really optimistic. But
I'm not too high on South Carolina going forward.
The other games in the SEC, there weren't too many of them. Arkansas gave Tennessee a game. I wasn't the highest on Tennessee coming into the year, so I'm not surprised they had a sleepy spot in something like this. It was kind of nice to see Arkansas with the completely remade coaching staff under Petrino actually do something, shown value on them like every single week in the betting markets and lost quite a bit. Ole Miss played Washington State. They had a super sleepy game. They ended up winning by 1 score. I just don't think they were really prepping for that contest, to be honest with you. Anything from either of those games?
So the Ole Miss game, they practiced for Georgia almost the entire week.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Massive look ahead spot. Statistically, they didn't really even look that bad. They were playing with their food the entire game.
Did you watch any of this game? Because I didn't.
I watched pretty much the entire second half.
So what were they doing on offense?
It was one of those, I got to see what's happening here.
Did they just come out super vanilla? Like what was Trinidad doing?
They were so slow. It was super vanilla the first half.
I didn't actually, like the injuries favored Ole Miss. There were a ton on Washington State, so I'm surprised that it was even that close.
Really concerning performance from them. I definitely think they fix it this upcoming week. Lane Kiffin's going to get them up for that game. But definitely a massive look ahead spot. Yeah, they just kind of came out flat. So that was definitely a big trap game for them. They got really lucky.
I didn't consider that at all. Luckily, I didn't bet it, but. To your point, things get a lot harder for them moving forward. You got Georgia this week, followed up by Oklahoma on the road. Then you get South Carolina, Citadel, so a little respite. But you close the year with Florida and Mississippi State. So not the hardest, but definitely not the easiest for Ole Miss. That does it for the SEC. As far as where we stand overall, there are three undefeated teams in conference. Ole Miss, they're undefeated overall, but 3-0 in conference. A&M, same thing. And then Bama's 3-0 in conference, but 5-1 overall, obviously catching that Florida State loss. After that, Georgia's 3-1 in conference, 5-1 overall. LSU 2-1 in conference, 5-1 overall. Tennessee 2-1 in conference, 5-1 overall. Then you have Texas battling, Missouri battling. Oklahoma, Vanderbilt in the mix, but pretty far out of it. Anything you see with the picture, I still think SEC is getting 4 in.
I think they should get 4 in.
I think it's, for me, if I was picking today, Texas A&M, Bama, and then honestly, you can make an argument for just about any of the teams I mentioned. I do not feel strongly about any of them. I do think you could see like one of these weaker schedules sneak in, like an Ole Miss, a Tennessee, or a Missouri. If you're looking for long shots in the future market, those are just probably the 3 easy schedules among the teams mentioned, but I don't really know. It's so much parity this year.
I'd go A&M, Bama. I would say Georgia.
Right really now,
I gotta go with Missouri. I think just from a schedule perspective, I think they have a really good shot to do it right now.
And they should have beat Bama.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you.
That's a good loss too, dude. That's a good loss.
Yeah, as far as losses go, it certainly is. Let's go to the Big Ten. Some awesome games in this conference. Indiana and Oregon was the main event. Indiana gets the road win, 30-20. Should have been more, honestly. Post-game win expectancy had that at 99%. Indiana playing with their food a little bit. You know, Cignetti, he's going to take some risks, and he certainly did. Yards per play was fairly close, though. I was surprised. 4.8 to 4.2. Through the air, Mendoza got the best of Dante Moore, no doubt about that. And then on the ground, it was fairly even. Honestly, I didn't really have too many takeaways other than Indiana was the better team. Both of them were fairly untested to this point. Obviously, the Penn State win has aged horrifically for Oregon. And then the Indiana-Illinois game, Indiana's just a better team. I think we've seen through 2 data points, Illinois is just not quite in that top elite programs in the Big Ten. So this was important to see. But yeah, I think people continually underrate Indiana's talent. Coming into the year, we had them ranked number 2 in this conference, 2 or 3, second best receiving core. Very talented with Fernando Mendoza at the helm, an experienced offensive line. NFL receivers probably in Surratt and Cooper for sure. It's a great unit. And Oregon, a lot of change for them on their first real test, just didn't live up to it. And it was at home too. That was the biggest thing. Anything you saw in this game?
You know, it's tough. I think going into this game here, I think this is the matchup of the 2 best quarterbacks, at least right now in the country. Kind of like you said, you know, Indiana, they just came out. They were impressive. Cignetti got him up for this game. That guy knows how to work with what he's got. And, you know, they were definitely a team that I thought was going to significantly regress going into the season. But no, I was just thoroughly impressed with what Indiana was able to do. Nothing specifically stuck out on the side of Oregon. I mean, they just lost to a better team on Saturday. I definitely think this won't hurt them too much. It's only 1 loss. Lanning's definitely going to help them rebound from this. They got a lot of opportunity the rest of the year with a couple of statement games coming up here. But yeah, Indiana was just incredibly impressive to me yesterday. I personally didn't bet the game. If I did, it would have been Indiana.
I did take Indiana. I took a plus 9.5 on Sunday night or Monday last week. So I get
a really good number.
Good number, didn't matter. Wish I would have had it an outline the other direction, and I'd be rich and maybe not doing the show. But here we are. I'd be doing the show anyway. The biggest thing to me was like Indiana did get a lot of gritty yards. To kind of put some context to it, you'd continually see Omar Cooper catch the ball short of the sticks, and I don't know if there's a better yard after catch receiver in the country. And it's not necessarily like he's taking a slant and going 95 yards. It's like he catches it 3 yards short of the sticks with defenders around him. He's finding a way to get to 3 yards. So it's pretty incredible what they can do with just some of the talent they have. On Oregon, I was surprised we didn't see more out of the edge rushers like Tatum, Teote, Mateo Uagalele. Teote had it was a pass defense, sort of, I guess you'd call it. He batted a ball at the line of scrimmage. That was fine. But other than that, you didn't see a lot of those guys. The secondary was always the weakness. And maybe this is just a credit to Indiana's offensive line, stopping those edge defenders. That's a good Oregon defensive line, and they held up for the most part. So perhaps that's maybe the takeaway we should have moving forward. But anything else with these teams moving forward? I don't think Oregon has the toughest schedule.
I think Indiana is live to win out. They could run the table before the Big Ten championship.
I mean, it's got to be favored. Yeah. Indiana, Ohio State. That should be the favorites to make the championship game.
Indiana has Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue.
Christ.
Yeah.
Depending on how Penn State rebound. I mean, they're going to be double-digit favorites in every game except maybe Penn State. Maybe. See where that team does.
Yeah, I mean, that team, they are very live to run the table. Very live.
Oregon's a bit harder. You got Rutgers this week. You got to go across the country to Piscataway. favorite place to play. It's at night, though, so that helps them. Then they've got Wisconsin, Iowa, your Iowa team. If you guys don't know, Nate's a fan of Iowa. We'll get to them, I'm sure. Then they play Minnesota, USC, and Washington, so they close out the year with that West Coast travel. Not the hardest road for them. I guess let's go to Ohio State and Illinois. I realize I flipped the scores for this game, too. I got to get the reps in.
34-16, I believe. Yeah.
We'll get this moving forward. Week 1 of the show, things will get better. I'll let you take it away for this one. I mean, Ohio State's on a warpath, man. Absolute warpath.
This is the best team in the country right now. In my opinion, they are. Couple of things. Sayin made some really, really tough throws. I really like what Ohio State's doing right now. They look like early favorites for Wagon of the Year to me. I mean, they are just steamrolling teams right now. Other than the Michigan game coming up, again, we talk about Penn State. They don't really have a lot of tests in their way when you're looking towards the championship game. But yeah, I think, again, Ohio State, they're just dominating everyone right now. Nothing else specifically stuck out to me. But yeah, they're doing their thing. I probably will continue to bet them because they have been making me some good money. But yeah, I really like what I saw yesterday.
The only thing I'll say about continuing to bet them, they live a little dangerously by choice. And I completely understand why they're doing this. It was in an interview last year. I can't remember if it was Heartline or someone on the staff, but they asked about Ohio State slowing their pace intentionally. And the quote was, yeah, we're intentionally slowing our pace because we potentially have to play 15 games this season. You know how many extra hits that is if you play at the speed of light with those extra games? And that makes sense for a team that has aspirations. Not only that, but depth. So yeah, you can not only cultivate some of your younger players, but you can also hopefully give some guys a respite in a rigorous conference that's definitely not getting any easier. So that's my only thing but the other counter to that, they're just so efficient that
they're so efficient.
They keep dominating these teams no matter what. So yeah, hard not to like this Ohio State team. I don't see any holes. They're healthy right now. It's overall just an amazing unit.
Mm-hmm.
Anything on Illinois? Everyone's darling in the preseason.
Yeah, they certainly were not my darling going in. I was not high on them at all. They were a regression monster coming into the season. They absolutely were. Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be what they are the rest of the year. They'll probably end up being 9-3, maybe 8-4. They'll sneak by a few here, but I mean, I like Altmaier. Obviously, I like Bielema. That was just a tough spot for him yesterday. Definitely, if you're going to ask the entire city of Champaign, that would have been a trap game for Ohio State. I definitely didn't think it was. But yeah, they're kind of going to be what they are going forward here.
Two things. One of Altmaier's picks was a tip at the least. So, And then the yards per play, although it looks really close, to the earlier point, Ohio State just went full vanilla as they try to get out of these games and prepare for the postseason. So you didn't see them open it up in the second half. You didn't see them run the ball with any sort of flair. And then their defense was just playing prevent, letting Illinois actually move by. I was actually terrified that we were going to get backdoored on this. I bet Ohio State. I thought we were going to get backdoored.
Yeah, it was close. Illinois had the ball in their last possession going forward there.
Yeah, they were almost in the red zone. We got very lucky. All right. Michigan, USC, really good win for USC, 34-17. They dominated the game. The biggest thing I saw was they were up to 6.4 yards per carry, and their two running backs got hurt in this game. Waymon Jordan and Eli Sanders both got carted off the field. Sanders is out for the year. Jordan is out for a multi-week absence. And then you still had the efficiency through the air, over 8.3 yards per attempt for Maeva to Lemon and Jacoby Lane. And they were down their left tackle, too. Elijah Page didn't play in this game. I just don't know if Michigan's built for these kind of contests with the current constructs of their offense. They are playing ball. They're trying to play ball control and then only throw when absolutely necessary or as a change of pace. And I get it. Their receivers are awful. This team was leading the country in drop percentage, that is. I'm not sure where it came in after this week, but I understand why you don't trust the receivers. So, I mean, I just am not really sure Michigan can play these kind of games yet if their defense is going to have leaks and allow a 30-point game. Like previously, Michigan could win a 17-12 game against USC because their defense was good. If they're not going to hold up that part of the bargain, they're just going to lose some games.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about throwing the ball. Bryce Underwood's got a cannon. But, like you said, you got guys that are not going out there making plays. It could end up being a long second half of the season. But then with USC, they're an interesting story. I think we could see them start to creep up to the top of the Big Ten here. With Penn State struggling the way they are, it's kind of wide open there if you look at spots 3 through 5. So I definitely think they can make some noise going forward here. I like Maeva. I like Jacoby Lane. I think Lincoln Riley's got them playing a really good brand of football right now. So I am really interested to see what they do going forward here.
They definitely rebounded on the defensive line. They got murdered by Illinois in the trenches. And then they allow 3.5 yards per carry in this game. I know some of it was injury related. Haynes left this game, but still, like, that was a major weakness for this team coming into it. So they sort of answered the bell there. I don't really have anything else to add with these teams. USC is definitely live. If you're looking for like dark horses in the Big Ten, with Penn State falling out of it, Oregon catching a loss, like there's some head-to-head positions that you could look at for USC. And they got a huge game this week. They're 8.5-point dogs traveling over to South Bend to face Notre Dame. Anything on either team?
I did bet this game at USC at 2.5. But yeah, I think this is a massive week coming up here for USC. I wouldn't necessarily say they're going to go win that game. I definitely think they can keep it competitive. I would probably fire at USC. But if they can go out there and pull this off, they are very much live in the playoff discussion. Very much. I
already bet them in that game.
That game's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the best games of the week for sure.
Yeah.
In a week that's a little bit, it's definitely not what we just saw.
No. There's some bangers here and there, though.
Definitely.
There's a few. Oh, yeah.
Nebraska's got a good one, and they just played Maryland and squeaked by with a win, 34-31. Now, they did that to themselves. They had 3 turnovers. They moved the ball at will against Maryland. That's just kind of what teams do against this team. 7.7 yards per play to 5.7. This was not on the quad box for me, so I didn't see a lot of it. I only saw Matt Rule's post-game saying, we don't lose close games anymore. You shouldn't be in close games against Maryland. You didn't cover the spread. That's kind of the point. But Raiola had a decent day. I think that probably has more to do with Maryland. Obviously, it's Sunday night, so I haven't been able to do the full recap of this game yet, but we'll eventually get there. Coming into the year, I had Maryland as the worst team in the conference. Beating Maryland is nothing that I'm really writing home about for this Nebraska team. Like, they should have lost to Cincinnati in week 1. I'm just not sure this really tells me that they're any good. Do you see it otherwise?
I don't see it otherwise. I will say Maryland, very much an overachiever so far this year. I like Malik Washington a lot. This team is going to be competitive in games going forward. But yeah, Nebraska, this is definitely a game you should not have been playing with your food in. You should not have. And looking at Nebraska's schedule going forward, it's not that hard. There's certainly a couple spots they can get tripped up on, but this is a team with 1 loss and now in the top 25. Another team you can make a case for in the Big Ten.
Yeah, to me, I don't know if they're a top 25 team. I can see how they've gotten there, but I just don't see a real marquee win. They had a post-game win expectancy below 50 against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a good team, though.
It's the best win right now.
Without question. It has to be. I agree with you on Maryland, too. So much of them was going to come down to what Washington gave them. And it's not all good, but he's a freshman. It's good enough.
That team, they're young. Give them 2 or 3 years. They'll be good.
If Loxley's not fired by then, yes. I agree.
The guy might be saving his job this year. We'll see.
The rest of the Big Ten was not really that fun. Penn State obviously loses again. Not much on that, really. Franklin's out now. I'm not going to be betting Penn State probably for a week or two as, we dedicate their games to science and information gathering. Other than that, UCLA, I don't know what Deshaun Foster was doing with this team because suddenly they go to interim coaches and they're absolutely beating the snot out of teams. Now, Aiden Childs did get hurt in the game, so Michigan State was turning to a backup QB. Not that it mattered. Aiden Childs was not playing well before that happened, so that was a disaster, and I guess UCLA is a better team than maybe it was just an overreaction for me. I thought that team was going to be okay coming into the year, and maybe it was just Foster running them into the ground. And then lastly, your Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't know if it's the nail in the coffin for Luke Fickell, but it's got to be close. They just dealt Wisconsin a death blow. That's the worst Wisconsin loss that I can remember, I think, in my lifetime. I'm not kidding when I say that. That was an unbelievable beatdown. Anything on any of those games or the rest of the Big Ten?
So, couple things with UCLA. New Heisel definitely in his bag right now, play calling. To me, it looks like Nico's just playing more loose out there.
He's running and scrambling a lot.
Yeah, he looks so much more loose. He's thinking less. The play calling looks night and day better. I definitely think UCLA is going to be an interesting betting spot going forward. And then Michigan State, man, they can't seem to get on their own ways with anything. But yeah, UCLA, really impressed with them. Kind of a cool story. Didn't work with Deshaun Foster, but the whole new Heisel narrative is actually kind of interesting. And then the Wisconsin game. Yeah, that was a pretty tough loss for the Badgers. But a couple of things on the Hawkeyes. Gronowski looked like he was hobbling the entire game. Got kind of going into that game. I was interested to see what they were going to do with the play calling. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. They threw a little bit. They obviously, being the Iowa offense they are, they're going to ground and pound you the best they can. That team is going to definitely lean on Kamari Moulton in the offensive line going forward. They have an elite offensive line. Defense seems to be figuring stuff out from the first 3-4 weeks of the season. I don't love the corners right now. But again, Wisconsin's not going to give you too much in the pass game either. But again, if you look at that Iowa team, a couple of tough games coming up, 2 losses. Again, you're probably not going to make the playoff by any stretch, but they got a chance to do something with the season. 7-5, 8-4. I am concerned about the Gronowski knee, though, very much so.
For Iowa's redemption tour, if they are going to make some sort of Cinderella run, the Big Ten gives you opportunities. They've got Penn State. Say what you want about Penn State. I think I was favored in that game. I think it's 3.5 or something now, which is
I'm not
crazy.
Surprised. Yeah.
Then they get Oregon, and you have a very hard road trip out to USC, followed by a Nebraska game Thanksgiving week. So by no means is this easy. There are opportunities here. Mm-hmm. And Big Ten's going to take 4 teams. I'm pretty sure SEC and Big Ten's taken 4. So if you end up in the top 4, you're going.
Do you think this is a year, kind of looking ahead to the playoff, we see a 3-loss at-large team?
I think it comes down to the Big 12.
Yeah, I was going to say
if the Big 12
or
is
ACC.
2 1-loss teams, they're getting 2 win.
Yeah.
They shouldn't, but they will.
That's a fun conference right now.
ACC, I think, is putting 1.
Mm-hmm. I think they'll put 1 in.
It should be Miami, but if for whatever reason Cristobal does his thing like he always does, they're only putting in 1 team.
Yep.
So let's go to the Big 12 right now. There's a lot of teams. It was a bad week in the Big 12. The only marquee game was kind of ruined by injuries when you saw Sam Leavitt ruled out very late in the week. It was like Thursday. I didn't even put that game up on the screen. Just like the Utah-Arizona State game was kind of just like a disaster from the start once that happened. So I won't really look at Utah wins again, which is good for them. They're still certainly in the mix. But the better game, I think, probably the most impactful game in this conference, because they were mostly blowouts, was BYU-Arizona. BYU continues to win games, just barely squeaking by teams. They actually have a post-game win expectancy above 50% in this one. They've had multiple games this year below it, but yards per play is still not that impressive for them, 5.4 to 4.9. They did miraculously overcome 2 turnovers, but man, Bear Bachmeier's done just enough. I think the schedule's been very weak for this BYU team to this point. They're probably a team I'm just looking to fade as we get into the heart of Big 12 play. The heart of their schedule is coming up here, and I think we're going to have a chance to potentially fade. But what did you see in this game?
Yeah, I actually was watching this game late night, so it was fun to see a little double overtime action late here. Yeah, BYU, you're not wrong. I think there are some really good fade spots coming up for them. But it's a team that keeps winning games. So you kind of got to give them their flowers there. I haven't entirely not liked Bachmeier this year. I think their offense has done some fun things. He's made some tough throws. But again, this conference is quite literally going to be a coin flip towards the end here. I love it for that reason, because it's so much fun. I don't really if I had to pick a winner right now, I probably couldn't. We're definitely going to see how the next 4 weeks play out. But overall, that game, I didn't bet it, but it definitely was a fun game, fun late night game to watch.
Yeah, I'm not in love with Arizona either, so I stayed away from that game. But to your point, we have in conference specifically a trio of 3-0 teams: BYU, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati, and then 4 more 2-1 teams with a couple others sniffing around right behind: Arizona State, Houston, Baylor, and Iowa State. TCU is like right behind them too. There's Baylor. There's some quality teams that can obviously play spoiler any given week. But yeah, it's kind of exactly what you expect in this conference. And speaking of one of those undefeated teams, Texas Tech loses Baron Morton, still beats, I think, a pretty good Kansas team, at least a formidable team at QB with Jalen Daniels, 44-17. This is the second time Texas Tech has lost Baron Morton in game, Utah being the previous contest, and absolutely beat down a team. Now, Will Hammond is a different quarterback than Morton. Morton is a pocket statue. He's a gunslinger. For some reason, he does not slide. He keeps getting hurt. But Hammond is very different. He's a runner first. And in this game, they only averaged 4.8 yards per pass attempt, but they finished the game with 9.3 yards per carry. They almost had a first down every time they rushed the ball. This Texas Tech team just wins in so many ways, and that's not even talking about the defense. I'll let you go on their offense first, but my goodness, is this team impressive.
They are so impressive. I didn't bet it. It was a large spread. I thought it was going to be a backdoor spot here for Kansas. But Texas Tech, I bet them in the past. This year, I'm 2-0 with them so far.
They covered every game.
They've covered, I think, every game.
They got to be like.
I took them last week against Houston.
And I took them in this game.
Easy spot. But this team absolutely loaded front to back. This is a team that has made the absolute most of all their NIL money in this offseason. The Morton injury is going to be a very interesting storyline going forward here.
Did you see it? It looked like a lower body.
Yeah, it was a leg.
He doesn't use them, so I guess that works. But, man, he just cannot stay out there.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, I like Texas Tech a lot. Kansas is disappointing me a little bit. What do you think about the Jayhawks?
They were replacing so much, man. Every one of your receivers, they haven't been able to keep their running backs healthy. They did have them both in this game, but Highshaw was limited. You've 2 good offensive line, and Foster's probably your best. Your defense, you lose just about everyone, all your corners. I didn't think they were going to have a good year. Expected more from them in this contest, and that's coming from me with a Texas Tech position in this game. So I don't know. I never thought they were alive, but thought they'd be a little better, to kind of sum it up.
I'm definitely a big Jalen Daniels fan. But again, if you don't have a lot around you, you're not going to win a lot of games at all.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, they're talking about like FCS transfers at receiver outside of Henderson, so it's kind of a mess. Another undefeated team up at the top is Cincinnati. They beat UCF in a real greaser. Cam Fancher started this game. He originally was the starter for UCF in week 1, gets hurt, operates as the third string for a couple weeks, but then they lose Ja'Cory Brown and Taven Jackson, so he's back. And honestly, he was a bright spot for their offense, but this is an offense that's predicated on the run. If you're down in games, it's kind of the same thing we talked about with Michigan. Like, this team's not throwing from behind to come back and win games. So to me, this game never really felt in threat when Cincinnati takes the lead. Yet another awesome Sorsby game, 9.1 yards per attempt. They didn't turn the ball over. UCF had 1, and they just couldn't do enough in this game. Cincinnati, to me, flat out better team. Anything from you?
No, kind of the same. UCF definitely underachieving so far this year. But again, I like Sorsby a lot. I think Cincinnati's definitely be a team that competes at the top of this conference as we kind of go forward here. But yeah, nothing else really on my end.
Cincinnati's better than I thought. UCF, I don't really know what my expectations were with Scott Frost. Got a weird game this week. They're playing Rich Rod. I already took them.
I did too.
Nice. All right. We'll talk about that at the end. Last one I really wanted to highlight, Iowa State goes down. They had a 68 post-game win expectancy, 68%. Colorado had a couple big plays in the past game, but other than that, I didn't see a lot from this team. Salter just hit on a few big plays with like Omarion Miller. Still couldn't run the ball. Iowa State, it was weird, the opposite. They had multiple running backs out of this game. They still run the ball well, but this time it was Rocco Beck that had some trouble through the air. So a weird contest. Iowa State, I think, finally shows their blemishes. I bet against this team like 4 times this year. It almost went broke. Anything from you?
No, I mean, it's actually funny. Before this game, I was very close to writing Colorado off for the whole year. I'm still not super high on them. This was actually one of my losses. I bet the over at 52.5. So definitely didn't
I
get
did
home.
take that. I lost that
yeah,
too.
that was tough. Both offense a little stagnant. Colorado played a little better. Going into the year, I didn't hate Salter. I know they've been kind of playing around with that quarterback position throughout this first half of the year. But it is nice to see the Buffs get a win, though.
Honestly, I'm not surprised the big plays happen. Iowa State's down 3 starting defensive backs, their 2 best ones. And to your point on the over, we weren't all that close. Colorado didn't miss a field goal in this game. Iowa State had some turnover on downs. Colorado had a turnover on down at the end of the game too. Not that they would have scored. That was kind of already out of touch. More punts than I thought, won't lie. First 5 possessions were punts.
Mm-hmm.
7 of the first 8. I mean, they basically didn't have anything. It's like their first 14 possessions, 12 of them were punts. Kind of a bad read by me. Just got to take the L where it is deserved, I suppose.
The injuries for Iowa State are definitely a reason why I do like overs in their games.
Dude, they lost Dominique Orange in the game too.
Yeah.
Their only good defensive tackle. They couldn't score. And Colorado's down 1 million guys on defense too. I don't know what was going on. Who do you think comes out of this conference before I move on?
If I really had to pick right now, I think Texas Tech.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that depends on the health of Morton. If we're looking at a long-term injury, I think it can be wide open. I think Texas Tech is still fine regardless. I think they'll be able to figure out things going forward, even if he's out for a few weeks. I would say Texas Tech, BYU, Utah are my top 3 right now.
I was going to ask you, put you on the spot. Who is the biggest threat? You think it is BYU or Utah? Utah getting their revenge?
I think the biggest threat right now, I would say BYU. Utah is not far behind them either.
BYU gets Texas Tech in 2 weeks' time. They got to travel to Lubbock, so that's going to be a tricky one for them. That's all I got in this conference. Let's do the ACC. It was a lot of these teams were off this week, so I included the Notre Dame game. They played NC State, but as the calendar shifts, it was a big bye week for the ACC. Georgia Tech beats Virginia Tech. Nothing in that game surprised me. Virginia Tech is a disaster right now. Unless you have anything on that game, you want to just skip to Pitt, Florida State?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't want to talk about that team. All right.
I love Haynes King, though. I love what they're doing. They're good stories.
Me too. I hope he doesn't get hurt, and he shouldn't. I guess the one thing on Georgia Tech, they're going to be double-digit favorites. Maybe in every single game except their current one. They're an underdog to Duke, which is surprising to me. But anyway, Pitt upsets Florida State. Since they've changed quarterbacks to the freshman, Heinstall, I think is how you say his name. He's been awesome at 11.1 yards per attempt in this game. A rightful win too, 60% post-game win expectancy. I honestly think a better game plan than what Gus Malzahn had on the field. You have Cade Bell absolutely roasting those Florida State linebackers. You saw Desmond Reed, who came back in this game, played at the last second, was not expecting to see him. The wheel route against Elijah Herring. I mean, they had the Florida State linebackers in hell all day long. It was honestly why they won the game, in my opinion. On the Florida State side, once the injury started to mount up, like so much of their offense is just throwing these prayers to Deuce Robinson. And to his credit, he's awesome. Either catches it or he draws the PI because he's enormous. When he went down, man, and they were already down Squirrel White and Randy Pittman, they just didn't have anybody to throw the ball to, and somehow they still finished with 10.7 yards per attempt. Once those injuries happened, just night-night Florida State. What'd you see in this game? Pretty impressive win for Pitt.
Pretty impressive win. I bet Pitt at 10.
I did not. I was a coward. Congrats.
It was a greasy spot. I'm not gonna lie. This is a greasy spot here. Pitt's quarterback, man, he made this throw. He rolled out to his left and threw the ball across his body, hit a dart right in the end zone. That guy's impressive, man. He's impressive. I like Pitt a lot. But yeah, kind of everything you said. I think Florida State's broken. I like Castellanos, but I don't really see this team making much noise at all going forward here.
They got 3 losses now, right?
Yeah, they're done. They're definitely out of the playoff.
They got. You'd basically need chaos in this conference, and then you'd need to. I mean, it kind of happened last year. You need to backdoor your way into the title game and win.
It's like what Clemson did.
Yep, you just got to get the outright. NC State gets pounded by Notre Dame. Only bring this up really because Notre Dame's got a big game this week. And The biggest thing for me, it was the first time we saw Notre Dame's defense come to play. Only allowed 5.9 yards per attempt through the air. And I think CJ Bailey is pretty good. 1.8 yards per carry on the ground. Now they're facing a diminutive running back in Hollywood Smothers, but it's still good defensive showing for Notre Dame. They can shore that up at all. I think this team has live to run the table and make it back to the playoff. They took their 2 L's, their 2 hardest games. Their third one is this week. So what do you think about NC State, Notre Dame?
So Notre Dame's an interesting story because I think what Notre Dame's doing right now, that team knows they have to win, and they know they need to win well for some style points going forward here. NC State, nothing really sticks out for me with them. But Notre Dame, I love how their defense played yesterday. I'm starting to like CJ Carr a little bit more. I wasn't too high on him at the beginning of the year. Obviously, huge Jeremiah Love fan. I think that's the best running back in the country right now. These games for them are going to look like this going forward. This team has to win like this the rest of the way. But again, I think USC is going to be an interesting test. That's a good team. That's another signature win they can get if you're looking at a playoff. But I really like what I saw from yesterday.
They need it. If they lose, they're done. But I did not watch this game. It was on Peacock, so no access to the quad box. One I'll have to review more. Won't spend any more time on it. I included SMU Stanford because I bet this game and got a really lucky cover. There was a pick 6 late in the game that got SMU there. That team has been disappointing to me. They play Clemson this week. I really want to bet them. I think they're catching 10, and I just don't know if I can with Kevin Jennings. He's up above 10 turnover-worthy plays. He's almost doubled what he had last year. And the competition's not been that good in some of these contests. They did play a couple Big 12 non-conference games, which were tricky, but it's not like we're facing the Alabama defense. I'm just not really sure what I make of Jennings and company at this point. The secondary, outside of like the pick 6, has also let them down in these games. It was against Stanford too, man. Like I'm just expecting beatdowns, and I feel very lucky I got a cover in this game. Anything for you here?
Yeah, I didn't bet it. Large spread, impressive win. Stanford's obviously they're not good right now. They got a lot of money coming in.
Yeah, holy smokes.
They got a bunch of money coming in, which is good. You know, I think if you look at the West Coast right now, there's 2 or 3 teams that are kind of running the show. Stanford, I think it's a pretty attractive spot from a recruiting perspective. But again, that's not a good team right now. Frank Reich, that was agreed upon a 1-year deal for him. They obviously got to go find the right coach. They got to find the right guys, whether it's the portal, whether it's recruiting. SMU, though, you know, they got a good win here. I'm kind of disappointed with them this year. I was actually kind of high on them going into the year, even though I honestly wasn't super high on Kevin Jennings. I know I've told you that plenty. But, you know, kind of everything you said, nothing else really stuck out to me with them.
I don't know where this conference is going to go. You have undefeated teams in conference. Miami, of course, you have to think they're the shoe-in favorite right now. Georgia Tech is undefeated. And then Virginia's 5-1, undefeated in conference. None of those teams play each other throughout the year. What are we doing in the ACC where we have 2 or 3 good teams and somehow we have no head-to-heads?
Yeah.
What in the world is Duke is the next team on that list, and they play out most of them. So, I mean, like, I'm not privy to the tiebreakers in the ACC off the top of my head, but there is a real chance, especially with this Georgia Tech schedule. And honestly, Virginia's schedule is not that hard either. Virginia plays Washington State, North Carolina, Cal, Wake Forest, Duke, and Virginia Tech. Like, there's a very real situation where we have 3 9. It's not the most likely, but we could have 3 9-0 teams in conference here. These schedules are so easy for all of these teams. Miami's played the hardest one, but they're the best team.
There's been a weird trend of just bad schedules across the college football landscape this year.
Maybe someone in the comments can tell me the ACC tiebreaker. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk some G5 quick before we get out of here. We won't spend too much on this. In the American, currently sits at Navy leading the way. They're 4-0 in conference. Somehow they've already played a ton of conference games, undefeated overall. Memphis is also undefeated. They will be the team that's currently, I believe, favored in the market to make the playoff. USF currently 2-0 in conference, 5-1. Just basically took the loss to Miami, and then Tulane's same thing there, 5-1, 2-0. Do you think the college football? First of all, tell me if you bet anything in this conference. I had Temple against Navy. Otherwise, not too much. And then feel free to get into playoff stuff or who you think wins this conference.
I did not bet anything in this conference from I actually only bet one G5 game this week. It was Bowling Green.
We'll get to that. I have them on the list.
Yeah.
I have them on the list. I bet Temple in this conference at the last second and felt lucky to get there.
If we're looking at a playoff, if I had to give you my G5 pick right now, I think it's South Florida.
They've got the best win.
Yeah, I love what Byron Brown's doing. I love that team a lot right now. That was a very tough test with North Texas on Friday. I would say South Florida, for looking from a G5 in general perspective here, I would say South Florida, UNLV is not far behind.
Okay, so Memphis, where are they? They've got UAB this week. They just fired their coach. Just for the hell of it, I want to see what my model would make Memphis, South Florida right now on a neutral. Let us see here. Just out of curiosity, because obviously Memphis has not played the harder teams. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's got South Florida minus a half a point.
Okay.
Do those teams play now? Sorry, this is riveting radio. They do. They play each other next week.
They do. Yep.
That's a huge game. We're going to have to talk about that one.
G5 game of the year right there.
But yeah, I personally think the representative comes out of this conference. Tulane's a sneaky team. They can't throw the ball and they can't score in the red zone. Mm-hmm. I do not think Navy's live as much as this happens to us every year where one of these triple option teams is awesome. They never actually do it. Anything else?
We got really excited last year with Army-Navy.
That was a fun game.
That was so fun.
Unfortunately, Notre Dame popped the balloon before either of those teams got there, but it was still a fun game. Mountain West is probably the next most likely to field a playoff team. UNLV is undefeated. Their defense is horrible. They are playing shootout after shootout. They almost got beat by Air Force, allowing like 80 points in that contest. They just had another one last week. This UNLV team is going to get clipped. I don't know whom's by because this conference is kind of a mess right now. The other undefeated teams in conference are San Diego State and Boise. Boise's honestly already taken out a lot of water with their 2 losses. So I don't really think there's a threat right now. Honestly, you could convince me like a Fresno State or someone comes out of the ashes to win this conference. I don't have a great feel for it right now. San Diego State's been impressive, but they've also been really limited with Denegal under center.
I definitely think if I had to pick a pair right now, it'd be UNLV. But yeah, I think San Diego State's not far behind. They're winning some tough games right now,
and
they're winning games, well.
Yeah. I want to fade this team. I just don't know who I would pick to beat them for a future right now. My only bet in this conference was New Mexico. They covered by a half point, 16.5. They lose by 16. And honestly, it was just the turnovers with that team. They looked pretty good. They moved the ball well in that contest. Lane just needs to play a little better. So I don't really have much to add there. Did you bet anything in the Mountain West?
I did not bet anything in the Mountain West this week. No. Actually, no, I did. Hawaii over. End of the night.
Did that come? That did come through. There were a million points in that game.
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of points in that game.
They had
57.
57?
Yeah.
They had Utah State, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. Utah State's quarterback did look banged up in that game. But
yeah, he did.
Really know how much
I watched the first 3 quarters.
Sun Belt, my favorite conference. They're not fielding a playoff team, I think, with James Madison looking a little bad this year. Mm-hmm. Still undefeated in conference, barely squeaked by Louisiana. I bet that game. I bet James Madison. I thought their coach was going to have an aneurysm on the sidelines with some of those penalties they had. That I was worried for his health, not to mention the 3 interceptions. And Lunch Winfield, the quarterback for Louisiana, they finish with 8.4 yards per attempt. I swear, like 90% of that came on 3 big throws. One of them, the James Madison defender, falls down on the route. It's a bomb for a touchdown. I feel really bad about this game. And I don't know if I was on the right side. It was a lot of points to lay. James Madison offense has really struggled. But, man, I was a little disappointed not to get the cover in this one. Anything in the Sun Belt for you?
Nothing else really for me. It's a fun conference. I actually haven't betted a lot. I need to actually probably watch a little bit more. But no, I haven't
either. Switching to weekdays.
Yeah, that's the one thing I like about a lot of these weekday games is we get a chance to see a lot of these teams that just aren't on TV.
I also had Southern Miss. That was a weekday game. Their post-game win expectancy was like 47%, and they won. So it was my only push of the week, so they didn't even cover. So I guess it didn't matter. But yeah, I don't think this team's not fielding the playoff team, in my opinion, nor is the MAC. Your game, Bowling Green, Toledo. Bowling Green living dangerously. Bowling Green, they had a backup quarterback, and they still get the win over Toledo. Kendall loves these games and loves losing them. I had the under. Did you see the final play of the game?
I did not.
You didn't see the safety for a second time to blow a cover?
You know what? Bowling Green, I'm going to bet them every single week now. They've been phenomenal against the spread this year.
Daddy George got them playing hard, even with their backups around their backup QB.
I turned the game when they went up. I did turn the game off because I didn't see that last play.
Well,
I wanted to see them come back because they were in a fight. They were in a fight.
That was a gross game.
It was that game was so Mac. It wasn't even funny.
I did not have eyes on it for the entire day, but man, did I see the safety that cost me the under. So that was painful. That was I had Akron in the MAC this week. That was a complete and utter disaster. I don't know why I ever decided Akron was a good play. And that does it for me with the MAC. Anything for you?
That does it for me as well.
I didn't put Conference USA on the list because they're certainly not fielding a playoff team now that Liberty's bad. My only bets in Conference USA, I had an over in UTEP Liberty. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea. The line moved way far against me. Malachi Nelson can't play QB. I had Middle Tennessee. Once the Missouri State QB was ruled out, they covered by a point. Very lucky there. And that does it for this conference, but you're going to have to watch them a lot on weekdays moving forward. Anything for you and Kusa? Or I guess just open it up. Anything else you want to bring up in college football? Anything cool you saw? Funny stuff from the weekend? Floor is yours.
For me, I just kind of like the fact that kind of we were talking about that we are going to see a lot more weekday games now for a lot of these G5 teams. Last week was the start of 49 straight days of football. To 49. So yeah, I think it's gonna give us a really good opportunity to see a lot of these G5 teams. This past weekend, it was fun. There were a lot of good games on the schedule. A couple upsets here and there. But overall, just a good week. It was a good betting week. We had a pretty good year. But yeah, I'm just kind of excited. I'm excited to see what we got going forward here.
Two funniest things for me before we get some quick look aheads. Devin Mockabee, Purdue's running back, threw an interception. One of the funniest
Yes, that was funny. That was
second funny. Not funny because it has to do with injuries, but did you see Rice lost their starting quarterback, their backup quarterback? They brought a tight end to play quarterback at the end of that game. They used 4 guys at quarterback throughout the duration of the game and got absolutely pounded by UTSA.
Yeah, that's a situation where I think Rice in general now just to stay away going forward.
They're a triple option team. Yeah, they need their QB. So, I mean, it's not the worst thing, but you still can't be putting tight ends at QB.
Yeah, you can't.
Look aheads quick. Anything you want to shout out for this week?
Look aheads. I do think I like USC.
I took them already.
Yep, Cincinnati. I'm not gonna lie, the Iowa game's interesting. It's interesting. You're playing at Kinnick. You're playing a team, Penn State, that has lost all the confidence in the world. I do think for what it is right now, I think that even is kind of a large spread for the Hawks, but I might take that.
I took a couple SEC games. I'm on Vandy already, -1 against LSU. I don't have a good feel for where it moves. I think it's more likely to go Vandy's direction than LSU's. Vandy is at home. Vandy is off a bye. I have Missouri against Auburn. Missouri's on the road. They are a better team than Auburn. Auburn cannot throw the ball, and Missouri's pass rush is formidable. Auburn also had a couple defensive linemen get banged up in the game. You're going to have to watch their status. I don't know. I laid the points with Indiana against Michigan State. I think that probably moves through 27, 28. Childs is hurt. We don't know his status. It looked like don't want to speculate, but it was a headshot. He took one helmet to helmet, so maybe a concussion for him. I played Southern Miss again. I can't quit this team. They are about 50-50 covering for me, but they're playing Louisiana, who doesn't have a QB right now. You mentioned USC. I'm on that as well. Cincinnati, Oklahoma State. I don't know how we have Oklahoma State inside 21 right now, 20.5 for Cincinnati. Oklahoma State just got pounded by like 40 points with a worse team, and they played a wide receiver at quarterback. and for those of you that are familiar with fantasy, he finished with negative fantasy points. This guy's atrocious. UCF, West Virginia. Not buying West Virginia until they find a QB. Wilkins, their third stringer, has been a disaster. And then a couple greasy ones. One greasy one, I took Jacksonville State against Delaware at home plus some points. Anything else for you or final words?
Couple spots I do like. I like Ohio State against Wisconsin minus 26.5. I probably will end up taking Georgia Tech in that Duke game. And then debating Ole Miss against Georgia, even though that game's in Athens. I think it's a big bounce back week for the Rebels.
They need it.
Yep.
But that'll do it for us. Thank you for joining me, Nate. I very much appreciate it. Nate's going to hold me accountable. We're doing this show every single week, barring some unforeseen changes. So thank you, my man. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Anything for the people, things they can find you, stuff to look forward to, anything like that. You'll be on here with me, I know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, then that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for watching. I will get better on the sticks. I'm not a natural producer, so we'll get better with the graphics and the transitioning and slides. That is my vow. Otherwise, until next time, thank you guys for watching. We will see you again next week.